This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Don't touch me, or I'll kill you.
Well, let's get back to it.
Well, that was an interesting interjection by, it was the Institute of Economic Affairs, or, one of those financial wonks. And they said that this new policy by the government to enrich the already rich is not going to have a short-term effect. It's all for the long term. And I thought,
Warning!
Governments aren't interested in the long term. They don't care what happens in the next 10 years. And the Blunder Trust certainly isn't remotely interested in what happens in the next 10 years. It's all about the right now. It's all about, can we revivify our popularity with the general population? The knuckle-dragging mouth breathers. Can we persuade them that we are on their side? They don't care about next week. They care about tomorrow. Headlines, that's what they're in for, not anything that might benefit the country over the long term. It's all short-termism. It's what's going to do for mankind. And so given that, and you can disagree with me if you like, it'll just make you wrong, given that governments are not remotely interested in the long term, then you'd have to say that enacting a policy that will only benefit us in the long term is a bit strange. A little bit odd. So perhaps it is not all it seems. Some texts and emails from last night. Richard says, scrapping the cap on bankers' bonuses is political stupidity that beggars belief. Well, don't sit on the fence, Richard. Tell us what you think. Lou says, don't shame yourself. The Royals have been a smash and grab outfit for centuries, plundering, enslaving and stealing all over the world. I was describing last night how I've had a change of heart about the royal family. For just practical reasons, I think that, our government seems to be intent on dragging us down into a third world status. So we might as well just cling on to what little edge we have on the rest of the world. And none of the rest of the world has got a royal family like we do. I mean, there are royal families, but you couldn't identify any of them, could you? Do you know who the royal family of the Netherlands is? Do you even know what their name is? Apart from Queen. Of course you don't. No one does. No one's remotely interested in any royal family apart from our own. And of course, it is like a soap, and all soaps need their JR. And the JR character is Meghan Markle, out of Hazza and Sparkles. I mean, we got the, Wills and what's it? They're a delight. What with the smiling and the waving and all that. But you can only do stories about perfect people for so long until people get a bit sick of it.
Boring!
No, they want the evil character. They can boo. Where's the boo?
Boo!
There it is. I knew you had it in you. So that's what that's about. It's just to keep the story going. And she and he are absolutely perfect for it. Even that the roles have kind of been reversed. She is taking on the evil character. I mean, she is not personally taking it on. She is being given the role of the evil character. And he is the sort of helpless feminine type. It is the opposite of what stories like this are normally written as. So it's just right on time. Completely perfect in every respect. We appreciate it, Megan.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing up. Now, wait a minute. Are you putting the new ones at the top or at the bottom?
Top.
At the top? Oh, that's very confusing. Okay, so these are ones that have just come in. Caroline says, wait, there's other royal families in the world? Yeah, exactly. Anybody care about them?
No.
No, only ours. Only ours. So let's not chuck it away. I have had a complete 180 degree on the royal family. I mean, I think that maybe they could not take quite so much money. But they don't want to become like the Dutch royal family and bike around a bit and lose all the sparkle. Unfortunately, the sparkle has just departed. So there is somebody with a little less sparkle who is now occupying the top seat. But we're just going to have to muddle along as best we can. Archie in Inverness says, I was at A&E today for 7 hours waiting to be seen. Suddenly the doctors swung open. The doors swung open and 2 nobodies demanded to be treated for an ongoing dandruff problem. Is this a listener with material? Doctors scrambled. How? Okay. See, the press can only think up so much to say about Meghan Markle, and so they're like scanning around to see any other celebrity that they can start flinging mud at. And this week, it's these 2. All right, from the top, Archie in Inverness says, I was at A&E today for 7 hours waiting to be seen. Hey, Archie.
Stop whining.
He said, suddenly the door swung open and 2 nobodies demanded to be treated for an ongoing dandruff problem. Doctors scrambled to their every whim. How do Willoughby and Schofield get away with it? I thought that they were the people's darling. I mean, I don't actually know who Holly Willoughby is, but Pip Schofield, he used to do the puppet thing on children's television, didn't he? About 1,000 years ago. And I know he does like daytime TV. I'm not quite sure what he does on it, never having turned the television on during the day, apart from to watch what I recorded the previous night. But, I mean, come on. How can they go from the nation's darlings to evil personified just by skipping a queue? Are they saying they skipped a queue, or is there was some other reason for it, or they tripped and fell and suddenly they found themselves right by the coffin? I don't know. Nobody really cares. You're just being whipped up into some sense of fury about any passing thing. God, we could get angry about 2 raindrops falling down a window pane. Trickle-down arguments. Mark in Glasgow says, do you know if we're being assigned a rich person for our trickle, or do we need to find them ourselves? Do we need to find them ourselves? He says, I'm eager to receive my share of the trickle-down, but I'm not sure how to access it, and the gas bill is due. Just whatever you do, Mark, if a rich person does start trickling down around your area, don't get any on your shoes. That's my best advice to you. Gary in Suffolk says, I heard a journalist use the term kamikaze. Oh, that's not bad. I might use that myself. I might store crazy kwarteng and start using kamikaze. Gary in Rotherham says, hi Nick, Bob Todd. Hi Nick, Bob Todd. Oh, Bob Todd, the slaphead bloke from Benny Hill. 99% of gargoyles look like Bob Todd, half man, half biscuit. Half man, half biscuit. Well, that was a band, wasn't it? Half man, half biscuit. Pretty sure that was a band back in the sort of John Peel days.
Rock and roll!
And Derek says the Mog's wife is Helen de Chair. I don't understand that. I don't understand this show, and I'm supposed to be doing it. What is going on around here? Maidstone. Hello, Joan.
Hello there.
Hello there.
I watched the pageantry,
Yes.
which was amazing.
It was amazing.
The
Yeah.
swirling of the bagpipes
All
and
of that.
so forth and so on. Great.
It was.
Of course, it was meant to say to the wider world, we are here. And then...
I'm not sure that's true.
Well, I'm sure it was.
Okay.
Beg to differ.
Well, if you're sure,
Also,
I'm sure.
What they did was absolutely horrendous. They haven't learned from the way that they paraded William and Harry walking behind their mother's coffin.
Oh, that,
because
right.
Charlotte and Harry, Charlotte and George, it was horrendous. They just walked a little way, but they must have covered up their ears. There was a booming of the cannons and monotonous tolls of the bell. That will imprint themselves on their, sort of life forever.
Yeah, well, they should have watched it on TV.
Well,
the coverage was great.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that I don't blame Harry for picking up his family and escaping to America.
I don't blame him either.
Happened to him.
I wouldn't want to live my life by a script that somebody else has written.
Yeah. It was absolutely horrendous. I felt so sorry for their kiddies. But the Queen knew. She said she wanted the children there, so the children were there. So I'm sorry, it has to be said that this is a firm, this is a business.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm at, sort of thing.
Well, you're at Maidstone.
That's it. What could possibly happen
well,
here?
Nothing at all. If you stay there, then I'll always know where you are, Joan.
Dad said, come
All
and
right.
track me down. Visit me when I'm in the tower, my dear.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll make an appointment straight away. Thanks a lot, Joan. 0345 6060 973. Simon in Windsor says, not to make light of the Schofield Willoughby scandal that I read today. Hang on. I had a sip of coffee just before I came on, and I wasn't concentrating. And it sort of went up my nose, and I've been, you know when that happens and you just feel kind of weird? Like you've rinsed your brain in water, in like sugary coffee water. So I don't really feel quite here yet. So you'll have to forgive me. This show hasn't started yet. I'll let you know when it does. Simon in Windsor says, not to make light of the Schofield Willoughby scandal, that I read today that James Blunt also queued for over 10 hours to see the Queen and didn't use a celebrity to jump the queue. Can you imagine standing next to him for that long if he started to sing? Okay, less of the material, people. This says, Nick, I'm shocked. I too agree that the British royal family should be nurtured at the moment, as we're being sacrificed on the world stage by very short-sighted politicians. People keep talking about the Conservative Party, that they're making mistakes. Oh, they keep making mistakes all again and again. They keep enriching the already rich and impoverishing the already poor. They keep making that mistake, they say. It's not a mistake. It's the plan. Nobody can make that many mistakes. Not the same one over and over and over again for 12 years. Stop cutting them some slack. This is what they're doing. It's deliberate. And they just chuck out distraction bombs. Exactly like what they're running the government on the basis of what would Donald Trump do.
I've been successful in every business I've been in.
And they just keep throwing distraction bombs out the window in order to take your mind off what it is that he's doing. They're not nice people.
Donald Trump is not a nice person.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
Yes, it's about the economics of disaster capitalism. This anonymous text says, half man, half biscuit is still a band now. They even had a hit quite recently. I seriously doubt that. The hit, not that they're still a band. Still big in Merseyside, says that anonymous texter. Half man, half biscuit. Blimey, they must be ancient by now. I mean, not Rolling Stones old.
Rock and roll!
But then who is? I really do feel as though I've got a half a cup of coffee and my brain is just swimming in it. Because instead of putting it, like swallowing it, I sort of had a coughing, sneezing fit with a mouthful of coffee, and it all went up the wrong way. But you know me, I never complain.
Stop whining.
Andrew in Herne Hill says, there was a rumour published in the evening paper that Boris and... Right, no. Tom in Sevenoaks says, hi Nick, is there actually anyone out there that thinks that Liz Truss's trickle-down economic plan will actually work, apart from the super rich and lunatics? I don't know, let's ask a super rich lunatic. He's right on board. 0345 6060 973. Windsor, hello Liam.
Hi Nick, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
I need a coffee. I'm not sure if I'm going to squirt it up my nose, but I feel like I've gone all tongue-tied now that I'm live.
I recommend it.
Just a quick one.
Squirt it up your nose. It'll really do it for you. It did it for me.
It'll clear my mind right out.
Yeah.
Just briefly, we're all surprised you've become a bit of a monarchist, so I'm sure you're delighted with the good news that the palace has released a picture of King Charles, our new king, pushing some paper around the table.
Yeah,
at
I
Windsor
saw
Castle.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Dipping into his red box, which is not as rude as it sounds.
And hopefully he's not pushing the pens or the ink off the paper. But I just did a quick check online to see how much energy it would cost to heat Windsor Castle, because I live on the doorstep, not literally. They reckon it's going to cost about $800,000 to heat it up for a year.
£800,000 a year. Yeah, that doesn't sound too far off. Yeah, practically £1 million. It is a castle after all.
It is, yeah, I agree with that. And it's a beautiful castle, I don't deny that. And I'm not a monarchist, I'm a hard-working blue-collar worker, so I'm more of a Labour.
A blue-collar worker? What do you do for a living there, Liam?
I'm a gas engineer. I work for a housing association, and we're based in Windsor.
Okay,
so,
well that does count as blue collar.
It does indeed, yeah, it does. When I'm working and not drinking tea. But just briefly, I'm amazed that you've become such a monarchist, and I wondered if you've been watching so much BBC that maybe it has done the job of, and I really believe this because it was on for 12 days in a row.
Yeah.
I think it was a bit of mind control going on there.
Well, you might be right there, but unfortunately, for the purposes of of your argument, I didn't actually watch any coverage during the run up to the funeral. I didn't watch any TV at all, just the stuff that I'd already recorded, which had nothing to do with the you know what. So I was only subject to that event on Monday. So I know where you're going with that, but no, I haven't. My mind has not been taken over. It's just practical for practical reasons. We have, like I said, something that none of the rest of the world has. So
I agree.
At this point, when our own government seems to be intent on destroying this nation, we might as well cling on to something that gives us a bit of an edge.
I agree in a lot of ways, but one thing that is very noticeable as well in all the preparation, which has been going on apparently for decades, is the use of the military. And I think using the military, even though it's in a soft play kind of way, they take up a massive part of the celebration. Well, not celebrations in this case, but you know what I mean. The parades, the pump and whatever they call it.
Right.
What do they call it? Pump and parade, yeah. But they're still using the military, who are there for one reason, to keep people in power and do hardcore work.
Well, that's not the one reason. It's to there is also the protecting the country from outside outside attack. But their boss is the reigning monarch. That's who their boss is. So there is a good reason for them actually to be there. They didn't just think, how can we fill up the ranks and make it look like there's more people here. That's the reason that they were there, because that's who their boss was. I mean, imagine if you were in the army, Liam, would you go into war for Liz Truss?
No, absolutely not.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And there it is in a nutshell. All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Simon says, imagine if we kept all of the profits from gas and oil like Norway did. Bognor Regis would be like Dubai. The only downside is we would lose Butlins. I went to Bognor Regis once, and there's nothing there. Well, there's two things there, which are next to each other. One, there's a pretty good park. And two, in that park, there's a cafe that serves one of the best pizzas I've ever had. Really bizarre to find superb pizza in a cafe in a park in Bognor Regis. If I had bet money on it, I would have expected to lose. But there it is. I would almost go back for that. You know, if there wasn't Brighton and Eastbourne and Bournemouth and Folkestone and Hastings to choose from. But yes, if we had done like Norway did and not given our oil away to whichever company came calling and kept the profits for ourselves instead of just taxing a little bit of what they managed to suck up out the bottom of the sea, then we would be rich like Norway are. But we ain't. If you look at the list of wealth in nations per head of population, we're way down the list. Norway's right up the top there. It's extraordinary how well they've done. And that's why they're HAPPY. Or one of the reasons, because the Norwegian government has taken the vast amount of profits that we just gave away and used it to provide safety nets for their population, to make their lives better, to increase the amount of care that they get, to protect them against the downsides of life. Everybody falls on hard times sometime. And in America and in this country, if you do fall on hard times, well, that's it. Game's over. And increasingly so. I mean, in America, it really is like that. And increasingly so in this country, because it's the same people running America as are running this country. It's just a handful of billionaires who seem to be bent on taking over the world. Or what parts of the world speak English. But in Norway, they provide tremendous safety nets, and that makes their population feel more comfortable. And if you feel more comfortable, you feel happier. But no, we'd rather run our economy on the basis of winner takes all. How's that working out for you?
Oh, fabulous.
Exactly. Max in Ilford says, I am still in possession of 3 rolls of curtain fabric. Does that make me a listener with material? Oh. York. Hello, Jan.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, mate.
Good. Now, before I say what I rang up about, I just want to say that I loved listening to you last night when you said you changed your mind about the royal family.
Right.
And what you said about the funeral, I thought it was great.
Well, I thought it was great.
Well, yeah.
I mean, not what I said, but I thought the event was tremendous.
Yeah.
One of the best, most impressive things I've ever seen.
It certainly was, yeah. It was.
As far as shows that we put on in this country, it was right up there at the very toppermost with the opening ceremony to the London Olympics.
It was very good. Yeah. Do you know what bit I liked as well?
Do what, sorry?
Do you know what bit I liked? When they were going up the long walk and the pony at the side of the road.
Oh.
And the corgis.
And the little corgis.
Yeah.
Corgis are a funny dog. They've got a full-sized head on a tiny little body.
A little body.
It looks like an Alsatian shrunk.
Yeah, they do a bit, don't they? Just a short legs, yeah.
Yeah. What are they for? Are they for something? Because some dogs are specifically for a purpose, aren't they? They're bred to be
like hunting or
ratters
something like that.
or pointers or I don't know what dogs. Sheep dogs. Sheep dogs do sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what corgis are for, but well, she certainly liked them, didn't she?
She certainly did. Yeah. The bloke on the telly said she'd been through about 800 of them. Or maybe I misheard, but quite a few.
Quite a few, yes, definitely. Right now then, on last week's What's Your Problem podcast.
Oh, what's my problem with Nick and Carol?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, Carol McGiffin, yeah.
You were laughing at Carol and the spreadsheets, weren't you?
Yes.
Well, why? What's funny about that?
Well, people won't have any idea what we are talking about, and in order to find out, you'll have to listen to the podcast that I do with Carol McGiffin, which I think you'll find is a right laugh. Isn't it, Jan?
Definitely. Yeah, I'd recommend it. But, yeah, I mean, I do just what she does, but I think I'm worse because I make a note of everything I spend.
Why?
You probably think I'm balmy.
You're balmy?
Why? Yeah, why? Well, I first started doing it when I got my first computer, and it was just, something to do with it. You know what I mean?
What, a waste of time, you mean?
Yeah, something like that. And I've done it ever since, really.
So you write down on a spreadsheet everything you spend?
Yep.
For what purpose?
Well, it's interesting.
No. It is not interesting. How could it possibly be interesting? So if you if you got a spreadsheet out in front of you?
No, I haven't.
Right.
Sorry.
If you had a spreadsheet out in front of you, Jan, what would it tell you about what you spent last week?
Well, if you spent too much, it'll tell you that, won't it? You see, you can tell it at the end of the month what you've got left.
But can't you just tell how much you got left by looking at how much you got in the bank? Or in your pockets?
Well, I think, it's a better way of doing it, I think. I think Carol's right. Definitely.
No, don't say that. Don't encourage her.
I think she is.
No, it doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Write down everything, because the conversation came up and Carol McGiffin uses a spreadsheet to write down everything that she spends on holiday, like back decades. And and I just couldn't understand that at all. What's the point in that? And she did try to explain it, but I'm not convinced.
No, I know you're not, but I think she's right. And
that makes both of you wrong.
Sorry. Can I just tell you a funny story about pizzas?
Okay then.
It won't take long. When pizzas first arrived in this country, but in the 70s or late 60s.
Right.
I used to work with a bloke, and he came in from lunch one day, and he said, I've just had one of those newfangled pizzas. Nobody knew what he was talking about.
A pizza? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so okay, that's it. All right. Thanks a lot, Jan. Pizza.
I don't like that kind of talk. Now just stop it. It upsets me.
Here's one in Eastbourne. Hello, Warwick.
Hello, Nick. Lovely to talk to you. I was just thinking about why people vote for Conservatives so much, because it really does feel like the turkey voting for Christmas.
Yeah, it's doing your head in.
Yeah, no. Honestly, it's actually making me to the point now I have to not listen to the news because it's affecting me.
Yeah.
And it really shouldn't, but it's mostly because they'll never catch you on the economics, because most people in this country aren't over 50 grand. They're lower earners or middle earners, right? And the economics of Toryism and factorism and all that doesn't work for you, right? And this budget just goes to show you that it really doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
But they've got this wonderful smokescreen of it's woke.
Yeah.
It's the culture war. And people that think that, a reasonable person, well, I know what a woman is. Yeah. and they've got you.
Yeah.
And they misrepresent the argument and they make it feel like it's an issue where it's just 100 people on Twitter arguing over it.
I know. Yeah.
And it's mental.
It's also what would Donald Trump do?
Oh, shut up!
It's exactly what he would do. He would essentially, what we're talking about, is doing the wokey cokey.
Okie dokie.
Wokey cokey.
I love that. That is such a perfect characterization of it. It's
Ain't
making
it?
me so angry because it's politics. I'm someone that find politics interesting. I love listening to select committees that would sound like a living hell to most people, but I like the cut and thrust and the intelligent argument and the dancing around topics and being able to express yourself in a way that is, I'm saying something, but I mean something else. And we've almost lost that now because it's just nutcases in talking about just absolute.
They're just distraction. They're just distraction bombs, Warwick. Yeah. Don't be drawn into it. Don't worry, mate. It might never have. Oh no, that's right. It already has. Thanks a lot, Warwick. Don't be down. Robin Sutton says, does the recent royal reassessment mean that the tired national anthem is now retired? If so, I am in mourning. What, this one? No, it has been repurposed. My favourite tune ever. Mark says, I think I preferred Kwesi Kwarteng when he was doing the Halifax adverts. Elite have got him. Elite. He's now went power mad and also turning up to events with an imaginary funny friend as his plus one. Yes. It did seem as though he was having a conversation with an imaginary friend. That friend was hilarious. 0345 6060 973. We're going to get a lot more wokery. You better believe it. It's the only thing that the Conservatives will be able to fight the next general election on. I keep saying this over and over again. Trust me when I tell you. They're not going to be able to do it on law and order. They're not going to be able to do it on fiscal responsibility. They're not going to be able to do it on all of the things that they would normally go to the election promising this and that, because we know what they're like, having suffered under them for the last 12 years. So we know that they're fiscally irresponsible, that they're anti-law and order, having defunded the legal system over the past 12 years. And they can't go on the NHS, of course. So what have they got? Dinghies and wokery, and that's it. They actually have the nerve to criticise the defunded police for not doing enough policing. The Home Secretary, Cruella de Braverman, told police leaders she expects them to cut crimes, including murder, by 20%. It's just that she didn't say how they might go about doing that. A letter sent to chief constables and elected commissioners across England and Wales confirmed that Liz Truss... Can you believe that Liz Truss is actually our Prime Minister?
No.
I mean, every now and again you sort of give you a head a shake and you think, God, what's going on around here? Liz Truss is our Prime Minister. Can you believe that?
No.
Liz Truss is pursuing targets originally proposed during her Conservative leadership bid. Just stuff that she threw out saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Now she's the Premier. She thinks she can actually make it happen. Cruella de Braverman wrote, reducing crime is a key prime ministerial commitment. What I think she means there is that Liz Truss has been very clear. Very clear. She says, Cruella says, I expect the police, working with local partners, to cut homicide, serious violence and neighbourhood crime by 20%. Oh, yeah. Right. So she wants to cut murder by 20%. Only 20%? What, she's okay with the other 80% of murders? What kind of a psychopath have we got running this show? 80% of the murderers are just fine. She just wants to put her foot down at the 20% mark. And how are the police going to do that, Cruella? By magicking crime away? Like God will read her letter and miracle the crime gone? The regime think they can poof things in and out of existence like they're living in a Harry Potter film. Actually, I think we may be living in a Harry Potter film. And the ruling party are all played by trolls. Great, stumbling, clueless ogres who end up sticking their own wand up their nose. So how does Cruella think that the police are going to deliver this miracle of crime fighting? She doesn't say. No further details were given on how the cuts will be implemented or monitored by the government. These magic cuts in crime. Which can only mean that this isn't some considered policy. It's not an achievable aim. It's just something they chuck out the window to distract us from what's going on, which is the wholesale ransacking of the country and the elimination of the freedoms and rights we used to think that would only be taken away in some tin pot dictatorship. Well, I didn't vote for any of this, and you didn't vote for any of this, and no one you or I know voted for any of this. So we might actually be living in a tin pot dictatorship. Or as Liz Truss would say,
we have never had it so good.
Senior police sources lambasted the plan as dangerous and unworkable. One said, this is a throwback to the incoherent ignorance of past politicians. You know, that could be a slogan for the Tory party conference. A throwback to the incoherent ignorance of past politicians. It's practically Jack Smug's act in a nutshell.
I don't know anything.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Paul says a mate of mine ordered some focaccia bread from the menu at a restaurant but mispronounced it. He mispronounced it.
Oh, no.
It's like when Donald Trump was talking to some leaders of African nations and they introduced the Premier of Niger. Just don't say it, Donny. Just don't say it. Greg in Leeds says, the newsreader Alice Bell's voice sounds... No. Rona in Purton says, evening, Nick. The hooting owls are back. They're in the tree just outside my bedroom window. I had a royal epiphany during the funeral too. Nobody does pomp like us. Can you imagine the absolute horror of having a president? What, horror? Not really. I can imagine having a president, but it wouldn't be horrific because that's what other countries have got. It's just that what we've got has a little bit more sparkle to it, a little bit more spangle. And I think at this moment, where the entire country is sinking, it's actually being pushed down by the ruling administration. I think we should cling on to every life raft we can. We do that stuff more and better than anybody else, and it's pretty much the only thing that we do anymore. that qualifies for as more and better. Name one other thing that we do more and better of than anybody else, apart from deluding ourselves that we're better than anybody else. We do that really well. Southall, hello, Joshua.
Hey, Nick. There's something going on in the internet, and it's quite strange. About 2 hours ago, I was trying to watch Songs of Praise with my mother, who's 86, and we were trying to watch Songs of Praise, and it just kept cutting out all the time. So I went onto Twitter to have a look, and there's a coup going on, a military coup going on in China, and it only started when you came on to the show. It's true, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
I suppose it's my fault.
It's possible. Yeah. No, there's Xi Jinping has been removed from his post.
Is that a fact?
And well, I'm looking at it now on Twitter.
Oh, well, if it's on Twitter.
All right.
As soon as any developments become apparent, Joshua, I want you to let me know tweet by tweet. Promise me you'll do that. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345. The stuff you learn on this show, it's an education, no?
No.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Well, he was right about one thing. There is something strange going on the internet. It's no end of strange.
LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
He is a very sick and dangerous man.
0345 6060 973. Owen in Cwmbran says the current, in brackets it's got pronounced Kuhmbran. Yeah, I know. Owen in Cwmbran says the current narrative from the government is that it is a new government and has only been around for 2 weeks because there's a new leader and a new chancellor, which makes sense when you consider their definition of a new hospital. Exactly. As though they're unrelated to the previous 12 years of Tory governments. It's a new improved Conservative government. This says, what surprises you more, ships that weigh hundreds of tons setting sail and not sinking? Or aeroplanes that weigh several tons being able to take off and stay airborne? That's a good question. I think they surprise me equally. I can't get my head around either of those two things. I think that ships are buoyed up and aeroplanes are kept aloft through the application of magic. You can't prove that they aren't. On the subject of corgis, Ashley in Stansted says they have strong ankle-snapping herding instincts. They round up children. Is that right? And on that subject, Jane says, corgi dogs were originally bred as herding dogs. There are two types, Pembroke and Cardigans. You can easily tell the Cardigans as they have buttons down the front. Uh-oh, a listener with material, but I'll let that one go. 0345 6060 973. I might as well tell you now that, or remind you that this show does get stuck out up the internet if it still is working, if the Chinese haven't shut it all down. It gets put on the internet as a podcast. You'll find it on Global Player. It is now exclusively on Global Player. Now, you can get Global Player in 3 ways, as far as I'm aware. You can get it for Apple, Android, and PC. So you can use it just like a website. And you can go on there and you'll see all of the stations that we do and just a boatload of podcasts. Just so many. It'll keep you entertained from now until the end of time. And the 3 podcasts I do are on there. But if you want the whole show podcast, which is this show with the news and the ads taken out, which means it takes less time to listen to, so you'll use less electricity. And by this time next year, you'll have saved up just enough money to give to a rich person who will then trickle it down all over you. But the only way of hearing it is on Global Player. It's exclusively on Global Player now. You can get it on Apple, Android, and PC. Like I said, you can just use it as a website if you don't, listen to stuff on your phone and so on. Confusingly, it is also available on Catch Up on Global Player, and Catch Up is just as it went out live. So there's the news and the ads in that. But if you listen to the podcast version, then it hasn't got any of that. Is that clear?
No.
I did my best. Let's have Salisbury. Rebecca.
Oh, hello. Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. Yeah. So the point I wanted to make this evening was about yesterday's mini budget. Honestly, I feel like we, the whole nation, are being gaslit by the government.
Yes.
The way they talked about people that are earning, working low hours or earning no wages, as if to say that actually you should just earn more money and therefore you're more valuable. It's disgraceful, utterly disgraceful.
Poor people should have taken the precaution of being born to rich parents, but they didn't, so they only have themselves to blame.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with that, I mean, it actually reminds me very much of the early 1990s, where you had Peter Lilly talking about his little list of single parents that were definitely single women getting pregnant who definitely, game the system.
Right.
I had my son in 1993. I wasn't a single parent at that point, but I did look very young. And I remember people looking at me as if to say, oh, well, you're clearly a single parent dole bludger, whereas in fact I was at university.
Right.
And I made very sure that I always looked like I was, doing my best as a parent. But this really does feel like government gaslighting. It's disgraceful. And in terms of the economics of it, I honestly cannot see how this adds up. I really can't.
Well, people are bending themselves into pretzel shapes trying to figure out how this adds up for the benefit of the nation. And you're wasting your time, people. It's not for the benefit of the nation.
No,
it's
I
for the
know.
benefit of a vanishingly few number of people, which are called the donor class.
Yeah. Yeah. It's disgraceful. It really is. I honestly, I mean, I'm 50 years old.
50 years old?
Thank you very much. But I genuinely, I feel utterly bamboozled by the announcements of yesterday. I cannot see how they add up economically unless
I refer you to the answer.
gamble.
I refer you to the answer I gave some moments ago. It's not supposed to add up for any of us. It's supposed to add up for them. It's not a government, Rebecca. I keep saying this. It's a smash and grab raid. Think of it in those terms and everything becomes clear.
Yeah. It's frightening, though, isn't it? It really is.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't possibly get any worse after you-know-who.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
It did.
Yeah.
I don't know what we've done to deserve this, Rebecca, but it must have been pretty bad. And I'm blaming you.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
All right. Cheers, Rebecca. 0345 606 973. Brian in Luton tweets, I've just had the new gravy mayonnaise on chips tonight. It's just like having Sunday dinner. And he sent me a picture of the offending item. Gravy-flavoured mayonnaise. Huh. Well, I could go with a plate of chips and some gravy-flavoured mayonnaise right now, as a matter of fact. In fact, if you give me the jar, I'll just eat it with a spoon. Samantha tweets, I'm thinking when the asylum seekers arrive here, I'm going to steal one of their boats and head to France and seek asylum there. They'll probably push you back out to sea, Samantha. Robin Dunmo says, as Norway is doing so well, will they send us a Christmas tree with branches this year? I don't think that's the first time that somebody's tweeted that in. You're not reusing old material, are you? Bromley, Ailing, Ashling. Ashling.
Hi, Nick. Nick. You like to surprise people, don't you?
I'm just doing the best I can, getting through them as fast as possible. Yeah.
That's why I said I'd give a call, because I know we're working hard to get through the emails and texts.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the reason I called in, well, a couple of reasons. But one of them was because last night when I spoke to you, I think that, no, I don't think, I know, that there was a particular caller afterwards who said that I said film, kind of strangely.
Oh, film.
I'm a little bit upset about that. Yeah, apparently.
Spell film. Spell film.
F-I-L-M.
Yeah. Now say it.
A film. Okay, I know. Okay, spell Southwark.
Southwark. S-U-T-H-U-K.
Exactly. So what's Southwark then?
I've never been there. I hear awful things about it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people there
Warwick?
can't pronounce even, like where they live.
Exactly. Because when I moved here, I called it Southwark for quite a while, until the family that I nannied for corrected me. They were too polite to tell me for quite a long time.
Right.
So that was interesting. Anyway, because the caller who said it is somebody who calls quite frequently to the station, and I was a little bit upset about it. I'm not going to lie.
Oh well, don't be upset.
Stop whining.
I know.
Spell your name.
Yeah.
Spell your name.
Aisling.
Now say it.
Aisling.
No.
Yeah, I know. I know. What about Siobhan?
Well, yeah, don't even get me started.
Anyway,
I'm not going to go
exactly.
there. No.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ashley. Aisling. One of the above. Pick one. Martin in the Dordogne, somewhere in France, says corgis are incredibly well-disciplined dogs and can be trained to do astonishing things. One great example is... Hang on a minute. No. This tweet says, I think Cruella wants to cut that 20% of murder for the rich only. The other 80% is the rest of us who don't matter. Yeah, what's it feel like to not matter, people? That's all of us. At least we've got each other for company, eh? Alex in Colchester says, Kamikaze Kwarteng is treating the economy like a stunt plane, making it free fall in order to please the Eton messes who will be betting against the pound. I bet they are betting against the pound. I bet people who are engineering this course of action, just like they did with Brexit, engineering the Brexit that we're all still suffering from and will probably be doing so for the rest of our lives, they were, on the one hand, giving money to Brexit parties in order to engineer us leaving the EU, and on the other hand, they were betting that that outcome would be bad for the country. I mean, are we staggered yet? Are you beginning to get it yet? We've all been had. It's all about the money, honey. Just follow the KASH. Get Reckless Eric on the phone and he'll sing that for us.
Rock and roll!
Alex in Colchester says, no, read that. Vic in Barking text, I saw a homeless guy today and I felt bad for him. So I did what I think any of us would do. I drove to a nearby affluent area and found the biggest, nicest house and put a tenner through their letterbox. You mark my words, before long that money will trickle down to the homeless guy. It's just a matter of time. Jane in Edinburgh says, there's 10 times more people in Britain than in Norway. Did Britain get 10 times as much North Sea oil and gas? Well, that's a good point there, Jane. But the inescapable fact is that Norway is one of the richest countries in the world because they kept a hold of all of the that precious, delicious oil for themselves, and we gave ours away. And when I say we, I mean the Conservative government. But, you know, they've got form on that because they also gave away our post office and our gas and our electricity and our water. They sold our water. What kind of a stupid country sells its water? I'll tell you, only one. Us. For a short-term gain for a few number of people. The rest of us got nothing. You know, France wakes up laughing because we are subsidising their gas and electricity. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. That coffee that's swirling around my brain is still coming out from unusual places. Max texts, "Hey Nick, you must choose one of the following. Ships that..." This bloke again. "Are you more amazed at ships that weigh hundreds of tons setting sail and not sinking, or aeroplanes that weigh several tons having the ability to take off and stay airborne? I have to choose one, apparently. Which stuns me the most. Ships that weigh hundreds of tons setting sail and not sinking. Well, ones that are made out of metal. How do they stay afloat? And planes are very, very heavy. What's keeping them up? Belief is what's keeping them up. You know, when I'm in a plane, I always feel that when I go to the loo, when I leave my seat on the plane and go to the loo, I feel that the plane is in much more danger than when I'm actually sitting in my seat. As though I, personally, have some role in keeping it aloft. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like there's great danger when I leave my seat and go to the loo. So next time I'm going to go to the loo without leaving my seat.
Disgusting.
That's my plan. Pick one. I can't pick one. They're both are stunning to me, Max. But if I had to, I'd say the planes, because they appear to be denying the existence of gravity. And when gravity catches up with them, you just wait. Jane in Edinburgh says, there's 10 times more, I've read that. Caroline says, Biden got it right about trickle-down economics. It doesn't work. Yeah. And that was a slap on you, Liz Truss.
That is a disgrace.
Yeah, slapped you right down. Because Liz Truss said that all countries should follow my lead and go full bore on trickle-down economics. And Joe Biden tweeted right back, trickle-down economics. I'm so sick of trickle-down economics. It's never worked. I'm going to build our economy from the bottom up and the middle out. I think that's pretty much word for word what he said. Completely correct in every respect, Joe Biden. Much better leader than the previous incumbent.
Oh, shut up!
And his fan base. Those dinglings. He didn't know anything.
I know nothing.
Trickle-down economics has never, ever worked. See, I mean, it's so blindingly obvious. If somebody is worth £10 million and you give them 50,000, what are they going to do with it? They're going to run out to the shops? Of course not. They've already got everything that they need. So they're just going to put it in a bank. And they're going to put it in a bank where the taxman can't see it, because they can afford an accountant that can make that happen. So if you give rich people money, it's not going to sluice around the economy in a virtuous circle. But if you take that exact same amount of money and you spread it among a lot of poorer people, of course they're going to spend it. And that's the whole idea, right? That's how you get the economy moving. You don't get the economy moving by just filling rich people's bank accounts in the British Virgin Islands. You get the economy moving by people having cash in their pockets that is burning a hole, and they have to spend on food and clothes for the kids and petrol and all of that stuff. Of course it doesn't work. But like I said before, people are bending themselves into shapes trying to figure out what the arguments against what their economic policy is, as though they can pick holes in it. And say, aha, well, it's not going to work in the long term for most people because of this, that, and the other. You're wasting your time. It's not supposed to work in the long term for anybody. They don't do long term. Governments don't do long term. Short termism is what will eventually do for mankind. And until that gets here, then you'll just find that governments are only interested in what happens today and tomorrow. And at the very most, what happens at the next general election. Beyond that, they don't care because they're not going to be here. They'll stage the smash and grab raid. They'll put as much money in their pockets as they possibly can. They'll monetize their position, make sure all of their mates get theirs so they can call on them afterwards. They'll go through their contact list and say, remember me? And at that point, they'll be off and free and sailing in one of those giant unsinkable boats. Never mind, eh? It's just life. Bedford. Hello, Rob.
Hi, Rob. Hi, Nick. Yeah. That's a good start, isn't it?
Yeah, you're Rob.
I am, yes. And you're Nick.
Yes, Rob.
Hello there, yeah. I've been listening to your show for a few months. It was a great laugh Friday and Saturday night.
But?
I know it's on Sunday, but I like the sound effects, so...
but?
I was listening to your show yesterday.
Is this a but?
Yeah. A big but.
Yeah, go on.
A big but, yeah.
Big wobbling
I was
but.
shocked by your change of stance on the monarchy.
Oh, my outburst.
And I'm not impressed.
You're not impressed?
No,
well,
I didn't watch any of that on Monday.
Well, it's difficult to be impressed by something that you didn't watch, Rob.
I know, but I know what it's going to be like anyway. I've seen the news and I've seen all the... How can you watch? I just couldn't be... I've got respect for the royal family, but I just can't understand how... at work...
Let me put it to you like this, Rob. Just think of it as an event, as a show that thousands and thousands of people and their supporting staff of many, many more thousands of people organised something that was so complicated and that worked with clockwork precision to perfection. It wasn't an out-of-place person the entire day. How they managed to do that is beyond belief. I am awestruck by the organisational the organisation of that day. I'll finish that sentence like that. Otherwise, I'm never going to do it. Just think of it as a show, Rob. It was incredible.
Sorry? What was that?
You didn't hear anything I just said? That's because you didn't stop speaking. I faded you down and you continue to speak. You won't hear what I'm saying if you continue to speak, Rob. Just relax. It's over. Everything's fine. But appreciate the support there, Rob. Cheers, mate. This text says, I was walking on the long walk in Windsor this May. Walking towards me were two young ladies walking 3 corgis each. I said to my friends, I bet they're the Queen's dogs. And I was right. They had HRH on their dog tags. Is that right? Luca text, gravy-flavoured mayonnaise. How could they resist the temptation of calling it gravy-naise? Because nobody would buy that. Gravy-naise? That sounds awful. This one says, Nick, did you hear about Liz Cheney talking about Orange Jesus? No. No, I didn't. Yolanda says, if the Conservatives are making you mad and sad, just do what I do. Imagine Keir Starmer with a fez on his head and a rabbit in his top pocket. He's a Tommy Cooper lookalike. Keir Starmer is a Tommy Cooper lookalike? Not even close. What are you talking about? Get a new... if that seems apparent to you, I think you need a new television. Leeds. Hello, Mick.
Hi, Nick. I'd just like to say it's now official. This country is run by rich-loving lunatics who give massive tax cuts to the rich, nothing to the poor, and now they're attacking workers' rights and trying to remove all our workers' rights. The public need to start waking up and getting these idiots out of power. Oh, this country is just, well, it is a laughing stock now of the world. It's an absolute joke.
By Jove, I think he's got it. Yeah, well, unfortunately, the people are very, very happy with it because, as we know, they knew what they were voting for.
Well, they don't now, because if you looked at the news after the budget, a lot of reporters went up north to where they voted for the Tories, and they started interviewing them, and a lot of them were saying, I will never vote Tory again.
Yeah, I bet they will.
The tide is turning.
I bet they will.
No, I don't think they will now. I think we're going to see a lot of civil unrest because of this. Well, because the public will only take so much, Nick.
Well, you could have said that at any point over the last 12 years, but we take it and we take it and we take it and we shrug our shoulders and say, oh, well, mustn't grumble because that's the British way.
Yeah, but I think we've got to a limit now where we're just giving everything to the rich, nothing to the poor,
And when you get to that stage, you get to desperation. And remember the poll tax? I think this could be Liz Truss's poll tax moment, and I think people are going to get onto the streets.
Well, I seriously doubt that, Mick, and I wouldn't encourage it, but I just don't believe that that's where we are, because I think that they will. I'd bet a small amount of money that the Conservative Party will win the next general election, because what they will go to the country on is not the NHS or the economy or any of the things that a political party would normally try to persuade us is safe in their hands. They'll go on the war on wokery and people in dinghies. And I bet that there's just enough people with our screwed up voting system, that's first past the post thing, which most people are against, by the way. You ask people whether we're for or against proportional voting. In fact, YouGov did just that. Here's the question they asked just days ago. Should we change our current British voting system? First past the post, which is more likely to give one party an overall majority. Proportional representation, where the number of MPs parties win, where the number of MPs that parties win will more closely match their share of the vote. Or don't know. And by almost twice as many as the people that prefer the system that we have now, people said, I want proportional representation. So the Labour Party should absolutely, totally and completely do that and persuade us that that is their intention should they win the next general election. And by that method, we'll have a rainbow coalition of interested parties who are representing all of us. Instead of what we've had for pretty much every, like 2/3 of the years since the Second World War, we've had a minority government of Conservatives who have been given 100% of the power by less than half of the people. It's a really, really bad system that we've got here. It's essentially just one dictatorship after the next. But they will go on the war on woke. And the papers will be all on board. They already are. And what small acreage in their newsprint that they have after they've given us the latest disgraceful stories about Meghan Markle, about what she's been up to the last couple of days, will be just chock full of the wokey cokey. That's what they'll be doing.
Okie dokie.
Wokey cokey. They're doing it already. We don't have to wonder what they're going to be doing because they're doing it already. Like Cruella de Braverman, the new Home Secretary. Can you believe that Cruella de Braverman is the new Home Secretary?
No.
I mean, it's just hard to believe, isn't it? In every respect, pretty much, every single job, Liz Truss managed to find somebody even worse than Bodger did.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
You wouldn't have thought it possible, but she managed to find a way. So Cruella Braverman is blaming the police, who have been defunded by the Conservative Party over the last 12 years, blaming the police for not being able to crack down on crime. And now she's setting them just preposterous targets like, I want you to reduce the number of murders by 20%. Like they can just poof that into existence. It's just, but of course, and then people like me, and on the news, and the police, and commentators will start hyperventilating about this and wondering, well, how's she going to do that? She hasn't considered this, and she hasn't considered that, but that's the idea. It's not to reduce the number of crimes. It's to get people like me and you all angry about this issue, and then we're not angry about the other things that they're doing. It's just a distraction technique, and it works really well. It works over and over and over again. It's also, what would Donald Trump do? Just chuck stuff out of the window. I mean, he was genius at it. Like, really, really good. Probably the best there's ever been. Your head was swimming. You tried to pull him up on one thing, and by the time you'd finished your sentence, he told you 20 other lies. And you just couldn't, you felt like you were just drowning in it. In fact, Boris Johnson said the exact same thing, pretty much. There's that famous interview where he said, you just, chuck mistruths, or whatever the word was that he used, out like chaff from a helicopter. You know, when there's an incoming missile, they just chuck this phosphorus out, or whatever it is, to make the missile miss. You just chuck all that out, and people can't tell what's the truth anymore. It's not an accident, it's the plan. And Suella Braverman is blaming the police for the rise in crime on the police doing woke stuff, like not discriminating against minorities and things like that, being considerate of others. That's the reason that the police have not been able to crack down on crime, not the fact that the Tory party have defunded the entire legal system for every year that they've been in power. If you cut the number of police persons by 20,000, it's going to have an effect. But that's what they do all the time. They defund an institution and then they blame that institution for underperforming. Works every time. So they're going to keep on doing it. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC.
Whether you're after money off mushrooms in Minehead, lower priced pizza in Portree, or cheaper chopped tomatoes in Telford, we've lowered prices on over 100 of your favourite products at your local Co-op. Pop in today. Co-op, it's what we do. Selected stores and online, subject to availability.
With PensionBee, you can combine, contribute and withdraw from your pension online. We're helping Hannah to invest in line with her values.
What attracted me to PensionBee was the fossil fuel-free fund. I want there to be a planet left for my son when he grows up.
We're building a pension company you can believe in. Be pension confident. Join at pensionbee.com. When investing, capital is at risk.
You probably didn't know my dad, Robert, but when he was alive, he made a will and left a gift to Macmillan Cancer Support. It means that in many ways he still lives on. The advisor, helping a patient get a grant to pay their energy bills. Dad made that happen. The nurse, advising a mastectomy patient on what to wear to her son's wedding. That was also because of him. Almost a third of Macmillan's vital services are funded by gifts and wills from people just like my dad and you. So search Macmillan Legacy today and help them do whatever it takes.
Experience knows there's nothing quite like that new feeling. The smell of a new book as you turn a page. Or the thrill of slipping into the leather seats of a new car. Lovely. Now imagine...
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again.
David in Oxford says, Keir Starmer is a Max Headroom lookalike. Yeah, that makes more sense. It's certainly not Tommy Cooper lookalike. He's a Max Headroom lookalike. It's the hair, isn't it?
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
You just don't. This says, hey Nick, there are 2 countries in the world that have no recognised capital city. Can you name either? This is not a general knowledge test. But I've started, so I'll finish. Is the Vatican one of them? I don't know. Mongolia? No, that's not right. I don't know. Australia? America? France. Other countries are available. Shelley says, Nick, have you tried baconaise? As in bacon-flavoured mayonnaise. No, I haven't, but I want to. Bacon. One of the best cocktails I ever had was in a restaurant, which is sadly not there anymore, in Clapham. And they had bacon-flavoured cocktails. Ooh, they were good. It had bourbon in it. I don't know what else. But it actually came with bacon in it. And it was flavoured with bacon. And it had a bit of bacon in it. I could go for a couple of slices of that right now, as a matter of fact. Bacon-flavoured cocktails. Booze. Yummy. This text says, what was once the British Isles is now the Gulag Archipelago. The Gulag Archipelago.
Affirmative.
And James says, I just watched the news and just as many people were saying that they would vote Tory because, you guessed it, they thought that Labour would be worse. How could Labour do the North more harm than the Tories? Would they nuke Yorkshire? Says James. And everyone in Lancashire is thinking, well, that's not such a bad idea. Let's have, and in relation to the pronunciation argument that we were having some while ago, this is a call in Morecambe from a person called Siobhan.
Well, Siobhan, maybe.
I believe it's, can you spell it for us, your name?
Siobhan?
Yeah, Siobhan. What's up, Siobhan?
Yeah, Siobhan, yeah. There is an actually brilliant, before I go into anything, sketch by, oh, Christ, what's his name? But he goes into all the Irish names. It's very, very funny. But anyway, yeah, so I am Siobhan.